Welcome in, everyone. Let me just quickly pause that so we don't get another one going. What you heard there was a song from a guest that we had on the podcast a couple months back now, but he's a good friend and streamer of mine and Kit's. Like, he's a good friend of ours who streams, called Wraithbound CA. There's a command in the chat, which is !POTP or !Cody if you want to see any more information regarding those. But yeah, welcoming everyone to the episode of the podcast with Syvix. Obviously, there's a bunch of people who are new to my channel coming in from Syvix raiding. I apologize for everybody on all the platforms if you hear my daughter in the background. My fiance is not feeling too well, so I've kind of doing two jobs at once, sort of thing. But speaking of people that aren't feeling too well, Kit, say hello. I know you're gonna struggle with it, but say hello. 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Now say it.
Hi.
Yeah. And then the guest himself, Mr. Syvix, if you want to say hello.
Hello there.
So obviously everybody that's come in with Syvix's raid, you already know Syvix, but we're going to sort of, for the fact that the podcast goes up on YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, Podbean, Amazon, Google, and Stitcher. I got all those right? Correct? Kit?
Yeah.
I was trying to get the list up as I was reading them off.
Not necessarily in the order I had them in the list, but it is all of them.
Yeah. So. Who's Syvix? Lego says in the chat. But yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know who Syvix is, we'll get into a little bit of an introduction regarding who you are in a moment, Syvix. But firstly, as I said, part of the plan, the songs we came into, got on screen right now. You should be seeing a picture of the band. The Wraithbound, who I mentioned, or Cody, is the one in the middle, and they're a group of guys from Windsor, Ontario, in Canada. So, yeah, great thing this platform that we're all part of. You know, meeting people from all over the world. And speaking of which, Kit loves it when I manage to do a little segue like that. We'll go into today's guest, Syvix. Do you want to give a bit of a intro into who you are, where you're from? Got your about thing up on screen right now, anyway, for Twitch.
Okay, so I'm Syvix. I am from the Netherlands. Born in France, raised in the Netherlands. I am an aspiring content creator on Twitch, and next to that, I work on my own graphics and graphics for others. I did the graphics for Lee, his starting soon, ending, and his overlay and alerts, for example. The panels that you see are made by my better half Trini, and the stream graphics are a collaboration between the two of us. Next to that, I'm 28 years old. I am a graduated entrepreneur in dance, hip hop dance, and graduated on a sports academy as well. Always video games always been like on the background though. Now a little bit more in the foreground, but back then in the background, and that's basically me.
So
started on a PlayStation 2, well, on a Nintendo. What was it? Super Nintendo back then. Then switched to a PlayStation 2, and from there on, every PlayStation console except for PlayStation 5, and switched to PC about a year and a half ago.
So, since you're on the podcast with us, it should come as no surprise to anybody that you play Destiny. What else do you tend to play at the moment?
Yeah. So my main games on stream is Destiny at the moment. Next to Destiny, I play a variety of games. I like to play Apex a lot. I've played Apex since whenever they launched, and it's still a game that I enjoy a lot because of the movement and all that kind of stuff. I like to play story games as well. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the games that I've been working on trying to complete, and I've been getting a little bit more lately into Valorant, but that's like a game that I will never stream because it's way too intense for me. And the game that will always have like a special place in my heart is Tom Clancy's The Division, and then mainly the survival mode.
While we're on the topic of games, you would love that one, Travis. Our first topic,
Yep.
Twitch category, chess, a game that you wouldn't expect to see go exploding on Twitch, has well done just that.
Yeah, so we covered this a couple of weeks back on the podcast where we was basically just talking about, because the Twitch section of the podcast is more of like, so obviously we start off with everybody like yourself, Syvix, would come in, say, come on, give us a little bit of an intro to who you are as a creator on Twitch and any other platform you might find yourself on. Just because we front load with Twitch, because then later on we can get into Destiny, and I've just noticed the TWAB has gone live already. That's a good one. I'll grab that in a moment. But one thing I will say is, like, the other week we touched upon chess gaining popularity, and Kit's found another article this week that is pertaining to chess, because the whole theory was that it was to do with the Queen's Gambit show getting popularizing chess and chess on Twitch. So it's now been like so popular that it's getting more Twitch viewership than Overwatch, which is kind of surprising, but kind of not at the same time. Overwatch is like a 4 or 5 year old game.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that much, because yeah, chess has been on the up, but then at the same time, Overwatch has been declining slightly because there's less newer content from it.
But as the other thing is as well is people have been, since they announced Overwatch 2, people who play Overwatch have been saying, you know, give us Overwatch 2 like 2-3 years from now, as in like a year from now, so like this year or end of this year, or, you know, announce that it's going to be 2022. I think earlier this year they did actually say it is going to be in 2022, but the hope was that they announced it like a year or two ago, so it was going to be you know, released in 2021, and there was no such announcement that came at the BlizzCon at the end of last year that it was going to be this year. So people was like, yeah, this is probably going to be a long way off sort of thing. And I think that's sort of, as it says here, Overwatch is feeling kind of stale. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing right here, but and there's going to be no new characters coming until Overwatch 2, which is why fans have been a little disappointed that they're not going to add anything cool other than events and maybe like changing heroes up a bit with regards to that. And obviously, chess, kind of like Apex, since obviously I've been playing a whole lot of it, and Syvix has mentioned that he plays it. It's new basically every time you drop in. You could get the same guns and still not end up in the same gunfights. Kind of like PvP in that sense, other than in Destiny, other than, you know, until the nerfs go through in 2 weeks. Is it next week? No, it's next week.
Next week, 5 days.
Yeah. Jeez, he's counting the days. You know, it's kind of a given that stasis is going to be everywhere. I played like 3 games on my Warlock earlier, and the first two games the entire enemy team was on stasis, and guess who got his ass mercied? Yeah, this guy. Then the next game, not the entire enemy team was on stasis, and guess what? Almost miraculously, it was a close game. And I was one of those that when Beyond Light first came out, and after they nerfed the Warlock basically into the ground, I said, okay, stasis, as long as you work out how to, counter it, at least at my level, is playable. You can play against it. It's when you get to, like, stupid, crazy levels of players in your lobbies that it becomes... I think, essentially, we covered this a few weeks back as well, I think Destiny needed something like stasis to sort of allow casual players to compete in non-skill based matchmaking lobbies. You don't want someone who boasts like a 5.0 KD just stomping a lobby and mercying. Like, they might as well be playing them versus the other 6 on the enemy team. But at the same time, if you give that 5.0 KD person stasis, then they're just going to do absolutely monstrous things with it. Do you know what I mean? So, whilst we are still on the subject of Twitch anyway, because we've got another one to cover. One question I saw asked in your chat before you came over, Syvix, was sort of what the podcast is about. So I just want to quickly answer that for anybody who is new, who's coming in with your raid, and anyone who may be listening on YouTube or one of the podcast platforms. Long story short, and this kind of, I'm going to tie this in kind of with a couple of tweets that went out earlier this week from someone we've had as a guest on here, which was Mr. Witty Carfex, and Maru IRL, if you guys know who that is. He was one of the hosts of the Filler podcast alongside Noggy, or V Noggy, as he goes by. So I'm going to tie it in with these tweets because of the simple fact of both of them have essentially took a break from streaming, a hiatus, if you will, because of different, like, varied reasons. Maru had increased in family responsibilities, if I remember correctly. And then Witty has something he's been doing for 10 years, which is teaching his high school baseball team, like coaching them. And so he was going to end up taking a break anyway. So he's basically just said now he's going on hiatus. So I want to just say a big thank you to both of them. I've watched both of their streams and they're both entertaining as fuck. Maru and the Filler was a big, not the only influence in sort of making me feel like doing this podcast and then asking Kit to be my co-host. But he was, and the Filler was a big, inspiration in that sense. So I thank them both very much, and hope we will see them at some point streaming again on the platform. So there's that. And then on the flip side, what the podcast is about and what we sort of aim to do with the Rising Lights podcast is we came up with the name Rising Lights because we're all, to some degree into Destiny. So that's where the lights comes from. And then I live by the mantra, at least on Twitch, and like Twitter and stuff, and making the friends that I've made through, social media and Twitch as a platform. I live by the mantra as rising tides raise all ships. So, for argument's sake, if I've got myself into a community with our very first guest that we had on here, which was on our second episode. A good friend of mine that I met through Glad's promotional tweet last year, Smooth Brain Sev. I've made very close friends with him. I brought, him onto the podcast, sort of said, here, people get to know him, sort of thing. But at the same time, there might have been people who have gone, do you know what, I like this podcast, I'm going to check it out more regularly, even if they're not checking it out live, and then see, for argument's sake, this episode when it goes live on YouTube, Spotify, or they might be in the chat now, with you, Syvix, seem to think, oh, this guy is a sound dude sort of thing, and sort of interconnect the communities, if that makes sense. And essentially, as a group, collective, we rise as a tide, therefore raising all the ships in the sea, if that makes sense. That's where the name of the podcast comes from, and it's a long story in the sense of where we sort of aim to go and what we aim to do with the podcast. So, last week we had Cephalopod on. He's somebody who does charity streams, isn't affiliated, literally streams sporadically. But it was the fact that, he does charity streams. We want to bring as much, attention to the fact that he does that. So that if there was somebody who might not have seen his streams before, they might go and be in a position to donate. They might see he went live and go, oh, that means he's doing a charity stream. Let me go and, hit him with donation, and therefore it helps out the charity. Whilst also, doing what we just said, like rising lights, raising the ships sort of thing. So, with that said, low sodium salt. Wait, what's the podcast about? Just Destiny or... Yeah, as Kit just said in the chat, it's Twitch and Destiny news and building and connecting communities. Yeah, exactly. Long story. That's the shortened version of what I just said.
Synopsis.
But let's go moving on. We actually had this one brought to our attention from our good friend Fiend yesterday whilst me and Kitsune were playing zombies with him. Basically, he was finished. Me and him were finishing up our streams for the day, and he seen a tweet, I think it was.
Yeah.
About there's going to be new tools for Twitch streamers to track and manage DMCA strikes. I've already seen Sorry in Advance tweet this earlier. There's like a little box that says like you've got how many copyright strikes. I haven't even checked myself. If either of you checked for particular channels?
I've not checked, but given what I do on a Sunday, I would be expecting a couple.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Kit streams OS or OSU on a Sunday, circle clicking Sunday. So there's a lot of copyrighted music in it, and therefore it's literally a live only thing. So if you want to go and see that, then But yeah, Syvix, have you? Because I've noticed you play copyrighted music. Do you do like the OBS tracks thing so that your VOD doesn't have those music? Okay.
Yes.
So it's not something you really use.
Yeah. So basically, I've started doing that like about 2 weeks ago. That I installed the Twitch VOD thing, so I'm able to play my own music. I've played a lot, like months of non-copyrighted music, but at a certain point, I was just like, nah, not anymore. I need my own music during streams to keep my vibes up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, I was personally worried about like the whole DMCA thing when it came to music. I was just vibing out to like what I've got on my YouTube like playlists is called my Call of Duty playlist, because back when Call of Duty Clan Wars were a thing, in Call of Duty Ghosts and Advanced Warfare, if you ever listened in, I didn't stream back then as much as I wanted to, but if you ever like was near my house and listened in, you'd just hear this playlist blasting. As I was like, one night I remember being up for 36 hours, and just as I was about to get off, I went 52 and 12 in our final like game for the night. To the point where someone like tried to accuse me of hacking. I was like, hello? This is me with no sleep. Like, if you're that bad that you want to accuse me of hacking when I'm on no sleep, you don't want to see me when I've had sleep. But yeah, that's I think that's where I get like my disdain for Destiny's PvP from, though, is it's the abilities and stuff. But we'll get more onto that, I think, when it comes to later on in the podcast, when we cover like a little bit of an update and stuff. But yeah, then we had Sev, who I mentioned earlier. He did a 24-hour stream in October for his birthday, and he was playing some of Wraithbound's music, and I was like, yo, this is a vibe. Like, who's this? And he went, it's Wraith. And I already knew Wraith through Sev. He was like, I was like, you're kidding. He goes, no, he's in a band, like, they do music and all this.
As bands tend to do.
Yeah, and he's like, they've even got like a couple of covers of The Hills and somebody who I used to know. And I was like, wait, let me get this link. And he sent me the link, and I was just there vibing out to like all the tunes that were on there. And then later on in the stream, I think I'd actually gone to sleep and woken back up, and Rafe was in the chat as I woke up, and he was about to go to sleep, and I just says, yo, dude, is there anything that you would need me to do with regards to playing your music on my stream? Because obviously you knew I streamed. And he was like, no, not a problem, mate. Go right ahead. I have no problems whatsoever.
It's funny that you mentioned this, because I was watching, for example, I don't know if you know T-Pain, the artist from the States.
Yeah.
Rapper from the States. He started streaming on Twitch like what is it, about a year ago, and he actually when the whole DMCA stuff started happening, he actually stated like an artist would never tell you to not play their music. It's all record labels. And he gave his like full go on people playing his music from like the past like 2 or 3 years. Everything before that you won't be able to play. You'll get the MCA strikes on because of the record labels.
Yeah.
But from the last like 3 years, you can play any of his music if you want to, because it's all under his own record label, and he will never DMCA strike.
Yeah,
Creator from
KSI.
Twitch.
KSI, who's someone who started as a YouTuber. He went into the YouTube boxing thing, and now technically is a pro boxer. He also like does music. He also did basically the same thing. He basically said last year, he goes, anything from my last like 2 albums and any albums going forward, you'll be able to use. Anything prior to that second to last album that I did, which I think was called New Age. He said anything prior to New Age you won't be able to use, because it's done with either a record label who won't sign over the rights to me so I can say you can use it, or it's done with another artist whose record label. So like he did a couple songs with JME, who will say, yeah, we want the the money from that sort of thing. What I thought was like stupid, but also kind of funny at the same time. Speaking of musical artists that have gone into streaming, Herman Lee is the guitarist for Dragon Force. He was streaming on his own channel, playing Dragon Force music, and got DMCA striked for it. And it's like, the dude's the artist. How can you strike him for his own music? Like, luckily it got sorted, but like I think we covered that on a podcast earlier this year.
Did, yeah. I don't know. Did we cover that? Was that the episode we had Rafe on, or was that a later?
I think that was the episode we had Rafe on. But whilst we had Rafe on, with regards to part of the plan, who's obviously the music that we came in on, and like I said, it's how I found it was through Sev. I did get I did ask him, like, what's the DMCA thing with regards to part of the plan, because, you know, they have got those two covers, which is The Hills and someone who I used to know. And he goes, we bought the rights for those, so our versions of those songs are free to share. Essentially, they're ours to say you can use. And long story short, I think it's on this command. It might be on the other one. No, it is on this one. So yeah, as you see there, I got a clip from the podcast just so that when it comes to me promoting them in my channel with the command, I can say, look, here's also a from his mouth, and, you know, the band's collective voice, if you will, them saying you can use it. So if ever anyone, in fact, his exact words were, they look forward to seeing what people do with their music, montages, streams, whatever it may be. He says, "Go nuts," I think is the exact words he uses. But
yeah, T-Pain in the clip I saw, T-Pain actually said as well, like, you think that that an artist, like a musical artist, doesn't want to see you hit a nuke on their track? Of course they want to see that. They want to see that crazy stuff. So it will never be an artist that will actually, you know, strike you. It will always be the record labels, and that's just, you know, pure greed, fortunately.
Yeah, see, the argument I've seen before when people have said, oh, well, I'm listening to it on Spotify. Spotify gets, you know, gets a link, essentially. Not a link, a view, essentially. So therefore, they get a stream. That's them getting paid for me streaming the music. And then I've seen the argument, oh, well, if you're streaming to 100 people, they're not getting that 100 links, like, streams, are they? They're just getting the one. And so one of the things that I think might have discussed it with Rafe as well, was like, if there could be some sort of, or it might have been a couple weeks ago, with regards to, we talked about Amazon Music being a thing. Amazon is the owner of Twitch. Like, do you really think they can't link Amazon Music to Twitch, to where you can listen to Amazon Music through a Twitch stream, and however many viewers you have on that stream is how many streams, plays, whatever you want to call it, get added to that song at the end of your stream? There's got to be a way of doing it, and that way they can get an easy way for people to, you know, escape DMCA, but also listen to whatever music they like. The record labels still get their money, because we all know they're money grabbers. And then by that same, like, token, you're encouraging more people who want to take, you know, Twitch and streaming as a whole, maybe take it to the next level, or eventually get, you know, to the career aspect of it, to purchase like Amazon Prime or something, because Amazon Music's included in that, and keep Amazon Prime going, because, oh, would you look at that, the longer you keep your Amazon Prime going, the more you get Twitch Prime, and therefore you get Amazon Music, and therefore you've got your music for free, whatever tracks you want to listen to, on your stream, counting people who want to get paid are getting paid, the artists win because, as you said, like T-Pain said, gamers are dropping nukes on their tracks and people are getting hyped behind the song and stuff. Like, some of the songs that I've found from other artists have either been like, oh, word of mouth, you know, typical, oh, my sister played this song, oh, this is kind of a bop, like, let me listen to it myself.
Yeah.
Or I've gone into a stream, I'm watching said stream, they're listening to a tune, I'm like, yeah, this is a bop, what tune's this? And they tell me, and I'm gonna go and look it up, and, you know, it gets added to my playlist, I'm playing it left, right, and bloody center. Like, so the people who want to get paid end up getting paid anyway, like, because I'm listening to that particular song 100 to 200 times in a month. Like, it's a whole lot more than you would have got if Billy Joel streaming on Twitch wasn't streaming that song. Like, come on now. The problem is, I think, going back to a video that Kit originally sent me when it came to me worrying about the DMCA, is that the DMCA was not designed for us as streamers. It was designed for companies like Napster to not be able to take the copyrighted, you know, music from artists and record labels and sell it, which is good. Like, that part of the DMCA is good, but don't come after, you know, little Timmy that's sitting there playing Call of Duty, listening to Eminem or whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, it's stupid. They need to sort of come up with another version of DMCA that is actually targeted towards the world that we live in now. Because DMCA was drawn up in the late 90s, early 2000s.
89.
I mean, Skin is saying
Mhm.
something very viable in your chat right now, but where would you draw a line? Because if you look, for example, towards Nick Merckx, he's been
true.
like popping off with like 40,000 plus viewers every single stream over the past year, and he got like the personal go of the record label of Drake and Drake himself to play his music. But if, for example, Little Timmy plays the song for 5 people and he plays the same song for 50,000 people, I mean, I can get that a record label sees the benefit in the fact of Nick Merckx, you know, streaming it to 50,000 people and not the benefit for 5 people, for example.
I think as well, though, like,
it's all a money thing, man. It's all a money thing.
Nick Merckx having the power, the popularity he's got, and then obviously at one point he was part of 100 Thieves, and Drake is an investor.
Now part of FaZe, yeah.
Yeah, Drake is an investor in 100 Thieves. He would have got to know who Nick Merckx was. Like, that's kind of a given. Low Sodium Salt said, also, how do you control who plays your music? What stops music bands being associated with a bad person such as racist? There's no way to vet people who play it. Yeah, true. But
I will say though, I'm doing the whole Twitch VOD thing right now. But I wouldn't do the Twitch VOD thing if I was like substantially bigger, because then live takedowns are still a thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I am not in a range of viewership at the moment that I'm really worried about a live takedown. But as soon there might become a point that I do get, like, you know, that type of reach, then I'll definitely switch back to DMCA free music, because, you know, don't want to get taken down.
Or reach out to said artist and get, you know, like some sort of contract or something drawn up, because that's probably what they've got. The record label and Drake, they've probably got something with Nick Merckx that's like in writing that basically says if Nick Merckx plays their music and the record label goes, aha, no, DMCA, we want the money for that, Nick Merckx can go, aha, I've got this piece of paper that says you can't fucking do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's probably something there.
License.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Rather than it just being word of mouth, can I do this? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he's got the license there. But yeah.
On the topic of outreach and collaboration and all that good stuff, if you want to go, I don't know if you've got this open, but the Xbox Twitter account.
I have not. Let me
Okay,
switch scenes real quick and
that's
grab
fine.
it from the...
So 5 hours ago, the Destiny 2 Twitter account tweeted out who would win in a fight, a Wyvern or a Taken Captain. And you know, you've got your usual comments and stuff on that, but then the Xbox Twitter account commented on it and said a Thydric literally stunned by a Taken Captain.
A Phaedra.
Yeah. And then looked at that and I was like, well, I mean, you get it, right? The people who run these accounts, they're people too, they're gamers, they know their audience. But to the point where he called it a Phaedra, and that is what some people at least call it.
Yeah. Someone says, why would you call it a Phaedra? Hello? Have you seen the thighs? They'd be thick. I mean, to be fair, when they go up in the air and stomp down, the Taken Captain's just going to teleport out the fucking way. So, let's face it. Taken Captain's gonna win that, I would say.
Yeah, but then all
it's a
of
nice
the
little segue there, Kit.
Yeah, thanks.
I like
all
it.
the Wyvern needs to do is turn side on. It's got that immune thing.
True. So we had an update earlier this week. 3.1.1. You know, they fixed a bunch of things with trials medals, despite it being disabled again last week. Which we'll get onto in a minute. Cosmodrome, bunch of fixes, you know, Battlegrounds. Your general, like, fixes. Then they've, you know, fixed a bunch of perks. I know one good friend of ours, Dune Marchers, is going to be happy that his exotic is now finally fixed. I've heard Trini saying it in your stream, Syvix. It's like, oh.
I personally love Dune Marchers as well, honestly.
I think it was Trini. I can't remember. It might have been somebody else. They fixed that apparently Falling Star was granting an overshield for other supers rather than just Thunder Crash, which is kind of dumb. I kind of wish I'd known about that. They've obviously now refunded Cabal Gold on Challenger medallions when you swap them. Different triumphs being fixed, platforms. So there was an issue with friends and clan members on PlayStation, and quick launch activity cards weren't a thing on PlayStation 5. Then they obviously fixed the 12 player activities, rip 12 like player DSCs. That's some crazy fun, but understand it had to go because of, you know, GMs. Let's face it, GMs would have been actually trivialized if the 12 player activities were able to go on. And then there was a issue with space flight transitions flying into certain maps with Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris. And speaking of Trials of Osiris, we were going to cover this earlier this week. Well, cover this on the podcast because we grabbed this earlier this week, which was that they, you know, it was cancelled.
Oh, do you not have all the way back on that?
No.
Weird.
So, I mean, I'll click that. There you go. So yeah, it was. They've cancelled trials again, basically because of fire rejoin functionality. A long story short, win trading, as far as I'm aware, because I don't sort of stay up to date with that as much as I probably should. They don't have a full fix until stasis tuning patch. meaning trials may be disabled next weekend as well. That was earlier this week? No, Saturday. When it got disabled initially for last weekend. We have since, just before the podcast went live, had this tweet right here, which is starting from tomorrow, it will be re-enabled. And that Fireteam Rejoin functionality is fully disabled until the new update comes out. When that update comes, they have no, time right now. But it also basically just means that if you disconnect from a Trials game, that's it. You've lost. Because obviously they've had to do this to stop people like win trading, etc. But yeah, so obviously Trials is back. Is that something that you normally get into, Syvix? I think Lee might have mentioned that you
Yeah,
play.
I mean, I like to play Trials with friends and stuff. I'm not the type of streamer that will say, jump into my chat, jump into the raffle, and I'll get you a flawless, because But I like to play with my friends. I like the little bit more of competitiveness within Trials. I do think changes have to be made to the game mode to make it more appealing for the casuals. So
Yeah.
they stopped the whole like win trading stuff. I see Grenadier Jake replied underneath that tweet. He has made some very, very valid points on how you could change it. Gigs made some valid points how you could change trials. Um, that I was like, okay, yeah, that might be good changes. Um, it just has to become a little bit more appealing to more of the casual player base that felt like they needed to win trade to get to the loot they wanted.
Yeah, I think it might have been Jake or Gigs I saw basically said do away with the card system. If you get 7 wins without losing, you get a key that activates the lighthouse, and you still go to the lighthouse to get flawless loot. But you just basically keep playing trials on and on and on and on and on. And then you can just put the loot pool in random drops from the end of matches. Long story short, from what I took of it, which I basically said to myself, like, I could honestly see me, Kit, and our friend Hans, because that's the team that we had when Messenger was the weekend, of like 3 wins. We all wanted it, so we were just like, fuck it, let's go. Like, let's go try and get one. Obviously we all got a few of them. Me and Kit both got at least one with Desperado, but our friend Hans didn't get any, which is kind of sad. But RNG do be a cruel mistress at times. But like,
Yep.
I could see me, Kit, and Hans potentially. Obviously, after I'd spoke to them both, if that was the system, I could see going to Kit and Hans and going, listen, why don't we just play trials every weekend? We can slowly get better, and then eventually we'll get to that point where we are going flawless for 7 games, getting to the lighthouse and getting that flawless loot.
Yeah, exactly.
If
Like,
it
I
was
feel
just
like
another casual, essential like playlist, rather than, okay, I need to get X number of wins before a loss to be able to, potentially go flawless. Like,
yeah, so I think it was Gigs that I saw that said, why just not make a card that you can pick up at Saint, or that you can keep playing trials up until 7 wins, doesn't matter how much you lose. You can get the
yeah,
loot for up to 7 wins, but you won't be able to go flawless. But if you
that's
do go
another good
flawless, then
idea.
of course
Yeah.
you go flawless and you go to lighthouse, but you can have as many losses as you want, but you can get up to 7 wins to get at least the loot from 3, 5, and 7 wins. And I think that could be motivating to a lot of people that don't want to dabble into trials right now because it's too freaking sweaty, or too
It's not
rough to
just
play.
it's not just that. Sometimes every week, like, you come out last weekend, before they disabled it. The hand cannon was 5 wins, right?
Yes.
I'm not confident in my ability. I don't think Kit is confident in his own ability. Or our friend Hans being he's probably a little bit confident in his own ability, but not as much as we would need him to be to sort of carry me and Kit to 5. Like, we struggle bust. Excuse me, voice crack. We struggle bust to 3 the weekend that we went because of stasis, because of other players being a whole lot better than us, just hitting shots and stuff. And it's funny because the first game that we won was a team just going, yeah, we're not here to win, we're just here to get the bounty and that's it. And so they jumped off the map. We won that game, then we won the next game, then we lost the game, then we lost the game, then we won the next game, and that was it. It's like, okay, we're done, out, off we go. Like,
yeah,
we got our messenger, that was it, we were done.
There isn't a lot of incentive for people to play trials when, for example, the hand cannon is on 5 wins. People won't be playing because of thinking they aren't good enough to get there anyways. So why would they play? And I think a card like what Gigs suggested would help people in that way a lot.
Yeah.
And also just get a random trials drop after every single win that you already unlocked. That could help as well for the player base.
Kind of like a free rank up package, if you will, from Saint.
For
you
example,
don't have to spend coins. You just get like another. Let's face it. We covered this last week when Paul Tassi put out an article about certain currencies being pointless now. You've got weapon parts and weapon telemetries for the gunsmith. Why can't you have trials coins, tokens, whatever you want to call them, for Saint, but then also another one that goes in hand with that card that you said you think Gigs suggested, which basically says after a game you get a rank up package. You don't even have to make it a random drop at the end of a win after you've, it's just you get this item and then you go to Saint and that is the random roll, if that makes sense. It could just be a stack of 20 tokens.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely need to do something to make it more appealing to casuals, because that's obviously where recovs come in, obviously where carries come in. It's how people are there's certain people that will just sit Jake and them that do trials carries on Twitch. 9 times out of 10 it is just, here, enter a raffle, your name gets picked, guess what, you're going flawless, sort of thing. But then there's others that are like, okay, donate this amount, or gotta be a sub, or pay me to be carried to the there's people making money which is technically against terms of service, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, officially recovs are against TOS.
Then obviously atop all of that, the reason that high skilled players that aren't doing recovs or carries or whatever don't want to play cheaters.
It was for example the weekend that the Adept hand cannon came out on Exodus Blue. That was a very bad weekend for trials because it was just stacks with recovs or a cheater that you would run into, and you notice that is just toxifying and making the player base a lot worse. And I think again, a card like what Gigs provided is something that could help for that player base. But yeah, it's there's just they need to make some changes to trials to make it more appealing for everybody to play.
Yeah.
And not just the server streamers, the recovs and cheaters because
speaking of service streamers, that's one of the things I've like whenever I started doing. That's one of the things I kind of wanted to do, but with raids because I like enjoy doing raids left, right, and fucking center.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I know from watching you the past couple of days, you've been doing GMs where you just like pick people from chat and help them out, sort of thing. Do you think badly, because there's a lot of like people who like, was it last week Katie was getting all the hassle on Twitter, like DMs or something?
I can't recall if it was DMs or if it was the feedback thing.
Yeah, anyway, she was getting some feedback from, members of the community who either used to watch her or still do, all anonymous, and some people said some truly horrifically horrible things. But one of the things that somebody said was, which wasn't so horrible, but at the same time it's like, then don't watch, was that Katie used to do like the service streamer essentially model of Sherpering raids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like back in arrivals and pre-arrivals. And this person was like, oh, you've gotten away from who you are, like I don't want to watch you anymore. And it's like, well, in that case, don't. But at the same time, do you think there is ever a point where someone can do essentially what Katie has done and gone, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore?
I mean, people evolve, the thing that I did myself back in August to when, for example, DSC came out were the Sherpas as well. I pulled up my raid report here in front of me. I have 105 Sherpas on Garden. I have 76 on Deepstone Crypt.
Damn.
24 Crown of Sorrow. I have 30 Sherpas on Scourge of the Past with 164 clears as well, with like helping people at the boss to farm for anarchy and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So that's stuff that I've done back then as well. And but the people have to realize that the community changes and the streamer change as well, because I had a goal for myself to get 100 Sherpas on Deepstone Crypt before 2021 started. I got
Right.
up to 76, and then I've noticed that a lot of people weren't like highly interested anymore. Like highly interested anymore in getting a Deepstone Crypt Sherpa because the raid isn't that hard.
Yeah.
Um
Either that or it's just, the people have been Sherped by other people, so you run out of people who need their first time clear. Like,
exactly.
it's just
And at a certain
nature of the
and at
game,
a certain point I just didn't see the benefit in that anymore. So I was like, okay. So Garden was popping because the Divinity quest was tied to it. I basically always did the Divinity puzzle with the Sherpas as well, so they got like the whole package in one go. The first clear, the Divinity, etc. When DSC kind of started when I started to notice that DSC wasn't as popular because there's no exotic quest tied to it or whatever, I was like, okay, how am I going to um approach my stream now? Because that was basically the thing that I've been doing for the past like 5 months. Just raid helps and help people get anarchy, get divinity, etc. And um, so I was like, okay, I'll start dabbling around in PvP more as well to get better in PvP and might be able to help people in, for example, competitive or survive in the survival playlist. And maybe if I eventually get good enough, help people in trials. I've done the comp help a few times. I find that enjoyable. I find that fun because people find it sometimes rough to play survival because of like 3 stacks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now the GMs are out. It was just like, okay, well, I've completed the GM now. I know where champions spawn. I know what happens where we walk into a certain room. I will start helping people like clearing the GM as well because I just enjoy helping people. And
Yeah.
apparently yesterday I was able to help two community members, Furry Bubble and DNA Killer Sneak, with their very first ever GM clear, and that is just stuff that I really enjoy, and that is stuff that I'll be keep doing over the next couple of weeks, next to like PvP and other stuff, maybe some solo challenges, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of DNA Sneak, um, there's one thing that Lee put me onto that, you know, from what I've heard, you put Lee onto it. DNA Sneak, I don't know if he's still in chat, Killer Sneak, has made a tool for like streamers to use, which is like a clip bot essentially, right? I've got the link. I'm gonna put it in chat, so anybody who is here live who hasn't seen it before can go and check it out. So there's that. I will also, for anybody who maybe watches this or listens to this on YouTube, put it in the description of the video. And Kit, I don't know whether you can put it in a description on the Spotify platform or any other.
Should be able to.
But I'll unless you want to grab it from the chat, I'll DM it you later. In fact, I'll do that now while I remember. But yeah, long story short, easy as fuck to set up. I used it for the first time yesterday. It is great. So I would definitely, personally, recommend something like that just to everybody else.
Definitely one of the best tools out there for streamers.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it a little bit after. You basically said, I think you said in your stream that it was Killer Sneak that made it.
Yes.
After you did the GM with him, and I was like, wait, it was you that made it? And he was like, yeah. And I basically, long story short, Kit, I don't think you was in Syvix's chat at that point, although I had seen on his recent follower list that you just followed them. I basically turned around and said to Sneak, I was like, you and Kit would get on like a house on fire. Because for those who don't know, Kit has got as like his own sort of web domain, isn't it, Kit?
Yeah. And
there's a page on there that's like a multi thing that you was making.
Yeah, none of them are like quite as polished as this.
Yeah, there's a thing on there that's he's doing for the podcast, so that, you know, you can go back, look, and get a little bit of information on previous guests, etc. Like, and then for the most part, I do put in some things in regards to the document that we have for like what subjects we're going to cover in the podcast, but for the most part, it's Kit that like grabs them all. So
yeah, I do most of the stuff in the background.
But yeah, speaking of like community things and things that have, you know, been popping off just recently, and whether you've seen it going around Syvix, but they've got this Season of the Plague fan project that's going on. Started by like Cinemotions, I think it is, and
yeah, Carson Reed, Cinema Motions.
Yeah, like a bunch of these. My Name is Bai, D1 Alphabet's in there, like a bunch of people are just like going on with this, and there's basically, from the sound of things, like looking at some of the pictures and stuff that they've got like some sort of thing coming out on May the 5th, so keep an eye on them for that. So Kit had this on the document as like Season of the Plague, fan-made season idea, I think it was. You put, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they are fan concepts.
And then they're trying to persuade Bungie into making a Siva themed
Yeah.
season for Destiny.
And then Kit added a little like a parentheses underneath, which was it's spreading. And it's
What it has
basically
been spreading.
so no strife here replies to Paul Tassi, who responded with someone said about like Plague Gang. Someone explain it. I'm seeing it everywhere, and then no strife responds with scanning. Paul Tassi, threat level medium. Going along the Siva thingy, but essentially saying they wanted Tassi to be a part of it, and he's since got like a red diamond next to his name. I assume.
He's also got the red background on the profile picture and stuff as well.
With his eyes being red as well, which is kind of another added little detail. So it is spreading to a certain degree. I added this into the document just before we went live because Kit had a thingy for GMs going live this week. Obviously, we've already kind of like discussed that with Syvix. But next week we've got a different GM, which will be arms dealer, I believe.
Yes, arms dealer.
But the Proving Grounds new strike will open up for season pass holders. We'll also have Iron Banner. So obviously because we had the GMs thing gone live, I figured we'd take a quick look and see basically what we've got left within the season according to what's on the roadmap right now. Then obviously the week after, Proving Grounds, which is the new strike again, enters the strike playlist for all players, and it also becomes the nightfall for that week. So that obviously meaning it will be the GM.
It's going to be the GM that will be holding a Palindrome Adept as well. So that's going to be a very, very interesting week.
Yeah, very interesting and very popular, I'd imagine. I'd imagine those who will be going for the GM this week, like early on in this week, will be playing the hell out of the Season Pass one this week coming. Then obviously, yeah, we've got Guardian Games.
And
excuse my daughter. And then obviously as we close out Guardian Games, they've got like a closing ceremony, but it does say and more, so I don't get how you can say and more at the end of the roadmap at May 9th when the season ends on May 11th, but okay.
It was probably just like, this is what we've got on the list, but there might be other things going.
Yeah, like Presage would have been in here at some point. Right. But yeah. So yeah, that was that. And then we've got the TWAB this week at Bungie. Obviously going into the fact that Grandmasters have begun. I Am Banana be coming back. They fixed Eyes of Tomorrow, apparently.
Yeah, so apparently there was a non-intended damage reduction within Eyes of Tomorrow towards bosses.
I remember people talking about it.
And that was never the idea for Eyes of Tomorrow. So,
but they have a fix ready for hotfix 3.1.1.1. Wow. By saying that very fast, drunk. Currently scheduled for March 30th. So we're on the 18th. So what, 2 weeks essentially? 12.
Yeah.
12 days.
12 days.
Yeah. Drop rate change, feedback, Eyes of Tomorrow. Ooh. TLDR. Upcoming hotfix.
Yes.
Yay!
So they stated that the drop rate change within Eyes of Tomorrow, there was a bad luck protection, but the problem was that it wasn't account based, it was character based, and that wasn't the intention, which one of my community members, the Combat Wombat, he had, I think, a total of almost 50 pinnacle runs before he got his first drop of Eyes of Tomorrow.
Wow.
So
I've
that
been
would
getting
explain
pissed
a
at
lot.
35. I've got 35 and I'm pissed. I think Dude Marches had like 36 before he got his. Maybe more. Is another friend who's in the Just Wipe It clan that I know Lee plays with quite a bit. I don't know whether you've played with them at all.
Yeah. I think I played with Dune Marchers once.
Yeah. But yeah, he got his last week. I think it was last week. Might have been the week before. There was a big tweet about it, and it was shared by the Just Wipe It guys and all this. And I saw that, I was like, God damn it! There goes me getting a team guaranteed every week.
Yeah, so the Combat Wombat, he has been doing this since the release of DSC, and he got his Eyes of Tomorrow yesterday or 2 days ago, which is crazy.
Wow.
Been doing it every single week on 3 characters, so that would explain his drop rate chances a lot.
So it says the design attempt of bad luck protection increase your chances of obtaining it each weekly clear on your account, eventually reaching 100% guaranteed drop if RNG had been particularly unkind to you. Oh my god, can you imagine having a 90% drop rate in like, I don't know, October this year and still not having got it? Ooh, that would have been painful.
I mean, for example, the Combat Wombat, I did 27 Teraba boss runs with him before he got his Teraba for the very first time.
I hope he's not in chat right now. I kind of do hope he is at the same time, but I got my Teraba first time and then swore I would never touch the Crown raid again, and then got roped into doing it 4 more times.
I don't think, Crown is an interesting raid. I kind of miss doing it.
The more I did it, the more I enjoyed it, if that makes sense. But that first run, after I got Teraba, I was like, well, I've got the raid exotic now, fuck it, I don't need to do this anymore. But by run 5, I was like, why is this raid going away? It's like the newest raid that's, you know, just been released, essentially. Like, I think it actually been released just before Garden. Was it? No, it was after Garden, wasn't it? No, it was before. I'm getting my dates mixed up.
It was before, it was before Garden.
But yeah, like, I was like, why is this one going away? It's after Last Wish, but before Garden. Like, come on. And then obviously Scourge was my favorite raid at that point. Now, I think DSC is just, I like fighting the Fallen. I don't know what it is. I love fighting the Fallen.
Fallen, Risk Runner, easy.
Yeah, take the Briggs out of DSC and add more like craziness, and I'd be happy. But yeah, like I said, the more I did that raid, the more I was like, do you know what? I really wish this was not like going away. I wish this was staying. How's it going? Sorry.
I just quickly run on screen.
Excuse my daughter. We already covered the debate on which one will win. Ghost Shells update. This was the release date that the update that we've just had. 3.1.1.1 will be March 23rd. And that's obviously what's going to be addressed right there. Frozen in Time ornament for No Time to Explain. Scan and heroic VIPs weren't appearing on Europa. Eyes of Tomorrow's damage nerf that was unintended getting reversed, and then obviously the stasis changes that we're getting. Then obviously later, like a week later, we're getting the 3.1.1.1 1.1. Bright dust issues respond like done. Resolved. Trials of Osiris, obviously we covered that already because they've basically announced that it's going ahead tomorrow. Known issues. So there's been a theory that the Locus of Communion teleporting around the Presage final area isn't a design thing, and yeah, it apparently isn't. Postmaster, I noticed this today, my first time like logging on in the past like week.
It's happened to me. It's happened to you, guys.
And so you have to just press. You can still like dismantle shit, but you just can't like see what it is that you're like looking at. So you press escape and it goes away. The Solar Scar, Trial Sword got an issue. Guardian Games class items no longer on a 2020 placement. I haven't actually noticed that because the only ones I've got are my Hunter ones, because I was a Hunter main back in Guardian Games last year. And because of the old mod system, I had one of each void solar element. The player's entire element shards added to their account when removing. Oh. Excuse me. Then we got movie of the week. Came down here as a squad of 9. I'm guessing that's gonna have something to do with, the
Nightfall on Titan.
12-man raid. Yeah, but from the looks of it, they've gone into either Pit of Heresy or I'm guessing Pit of Heresy because of the boss right here. I'm guessing they did a 9-man Pit of Heresy.
Yeah.
A 9 Guardian Pit of Heresy. Sorry. Then you've got Thunder Skip, which I'm guessing is some sort of little like bug because it says one of my favorite strats. Save time for Titans. Artists of the week, obviously, Season of the Plague is in there, which we have already covered. Okay. Wow, this one's actually a shorter one of the lot.
Very short.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanna like ask Syvix before I start the closing?
Not that I can think of, to be honest. We've covered most of what I wanted to. The intro was very good at the start of the stream. Very, very descriptive and everything. So I appreciate that. No, I don't really have anything else to add, unfortunately.
Okay.
It'll be very short today.
So, is there any like projects or anything that you're working on, Syvix, that you want to sort of get a little bit of a plug, promote, whatever you want to call?
At the moment, not really. I came back from like a little bit over a week stream break, and I've just been helping people out doing the GMs, and that's something I'll like keep doing over the next couple of weeks. Other than that, I have some commissions going for multiple streamers to upgrade, or at least try to upgrade their stream graphics. But like other than that, real projects at the moment, not really. But
Okay. Is there anyone that you would like to see on the podcast, or if like we was to ask you to come back on, would like to like have alongside you as like a double feature? So a couple of weeks ago we had 2 of the Just Wipe It guys. We had Otis 44 Gaming and 5 Club on just before we had Leon, who was the person who suggested you.
So,
is there anyone?
considering we spoke a bunch about trials, I think you could have a very good conversation with regarding trials and PvP with my buddy Synchro.
Hmm.
He used to be a part of my of the clan archive that I'm in, same stream team on Twitch, and he recently left that to do more of his own thing. He is somebody that pops off quite a bunch when it comes to the trial streams in the weekends. He's one of those people that actually does, and in a very successful manner, the carries during the trials weekends
Hmm.
together with his partner Forbesy. I think you could have a very good convo with him about PvP and Trials of Osiris,
Yeah.
and I think that it could be very entertaining because he's funny as hell too.
Sounds good.
Is there anybody else, or just? I think I've got Synchro on my following list as well. I follow him. I believe. I remember seeing the name on my list.
Yeah, I mean, it
that
wouldn't
many
be
people.
surprised.
I've got that many people who I watch, to be honest. Like, one thing that if you ever ask Lee, like, where's where are you likely to find Trep? He's gonna say some Twitch channel somewhere. Like, you won't even know he's there, and then you'll start talking about him, and boom, I'll pop up. But yeah, it's one of the things that I think Otis and Lee between them sort of refer to me as like the king of lurkers because I'm always there, but you never quite know if I'm actually there.
Oh, Trini is giving a very good suggestion as well. It's my good friend Furry Bubble. He makes
Yeah,
a lot of really good content on feedback on different games, and as always, a very, very well written or well stated opinion about the different games and the different looter shooters he's played over the last years.
yeah. And don't worry, as Trinity put in the chat, I'm not sure if you'll be up at this hour. Don't worry about that. We can make something work. A couple weeks back, we had a good friend, Cy Board, who I met through the founder of my clan, Favored. Hathematics, you might have seen him like interacting with Anubis or Pigeon and a few
Yeah, I
other
know
like creators. I met Sai through Hath. Like they used to shoutcast. Hey, and speaking of one of them, there's Baggy, who's essentially Hath's right hand man, is how I describe Baggy. He's one of the admins in Favored. but yeah, I met Sai through him, and he works Wednesday till Saturday, I think it is. So he wasn't able to make the Thursday because of like the time difference and stuff. So we basically turned around and went, well, can you make it on a Tuesday? And he was like, yeah, sure. I was like, well, obviously we won't have the TWAB to talk about, but we could sort of pick things from the previous TWAB and sort of make it work. So time isn't a thing. We can juggle it around. The podcast still goes up on, you know, the platforms like Spotify and that on the same day, time. Same with YouTube. It's the live aspect of it is, you know, to get people to come in and ask questions, etc. So
Give people to chill with, really.
yeah, and it's obviously easy for me at least. And then Kit's an editor on my channel, so he can, you know, download it if he needs to like do the podcast platform side. But it's easy for me to just export it from Twitch to YouTube rather than, you know, having to download it then upload it. And pretty much the main reason we do it like live as well. So
I think that's about it. I think there's only really two things I need to.
basically,
The first
yeah.
of them is happy 7 months, and
Hey, thanks, Kit.
where are we going?
Well, there's one more thing that you've forgotten.
What have I forgotten?
Yeah, Syvix. The floor is yours, my friend. Give people a little bit of a spiel where they can find you, Twitch, Twitter, wherever it is. You know, promote yourself essentially.
Well, you can find me on twitch.tv/Syvix and Twitter's /Syvix as well. I'm trying to be a little bit more active on YouTube, but it's been rough. Yeah, we just we vibe out some good music, help some people in the meanwhile, and trying to build a big community that is willing to help each other as well. So feel free to drop by. I go live almost every single day of the week at 3:30 Central European time. What they say, right?
Central European. You're an hour ahead of us.
Yes, it's
So that's
12:30.
So it's 2:30 UK, which is for right now, at least until like the 28th. I think our clocks go back an hour. We are only 4 hours ahead of Eastern.
Yeah, I'm
because
5 hours
it's-
ahead, so it's like 10:30 Eastern, 10:30 a.m.
Yeah. So there you go. If you want to catch Syvix, you know where to go. For those who are watching on YouTube, the link to his channel will be in the description as always. Same with Kitsune's and my own. If you want to come in and watch this live on a Thursday. There's two things I want to do real quick before we go and look for a raid target, which is, since Baggy is right here, anyone who wants to go and check out anyone who is in Favored who does stream, there's a bunch of people there. You got Hath, Baggy, Anne, Relictus, Karma, Luke, Brian. They all stream a whole bunch of different games. Relictus, for instance, I've seen him playing a lot of Apex and Overwatch just recently. Brian, Overwatch, a bit of Destiny and PUBG. Baggy plays a bunch of like spooky games, but his main game is Destiny. We've got a bit of a running joke right now with vault cleaning streams, because like me, he's a bit of a hoarder. Hath does like Destiny, more so PvP, but he does PvE stuff as well. One of the things he's actually been doing recently on Twitter that people might have seen is kind of like an introductory thing to Crucible, explaining different clips that he's got and explaining his thought process, like why he made the moves he made, etc. So yeah, there's that, and anybody who wants to follow the clan Twitter is also linked there in the chat as well. Completely up to everybody if you want to, but if there is anybody who might potentially want to join, either hit up Baggy directly on his like DMs on Twitter, Hath, or the clan Twitter. So let me have a look right now at my live list. Where can we go? Who can we take you guys over to see? Huh. Okay. Speaking of favored members streaming, I've got two that are live right now that I can see. One might be a bit further up. Let me have a look. Nope. Two that I can see right now. One's playing PUBG, which is Brian. One's playing Overwatch, which is Relictus. Or since the podcast is about, Destiny, we can go with Destiny. With two other people. Three other people, even. So, anybody want to make a suggestion? One of which is GoPo. Anybody know who Ghost Possum is? Kit?
Nope.
You not seen him in Pidge chat?
I'll be honest, I've not been very active in chats recently.
Oh, he's been there for a while.
Well, yeah. Probably just.
I tell you what then. We'll actually go and see Ghost because he was playing with Noob IRL, who I actually asked if he wanted to be on last week or this week. But he was leaning more towards this week, and then was busy. And I asked Syvix when I hadn't heard from him for a couple of hours. I was like, okay, well, if he comes back to me and says he could be on this week, I'll just say to him, listen, I've got somebody else lined up now because it sort of took a while, and we'll get him on next week. GoPro was helping him and Dan Finity, playing with Dan Finity, helping Noob get his first DSC clear last week when we raided Noob. I now remember we raided Noob, not Lee, last week. So we'll go and see GoPro. Thank you very much, Syvix, for taking time out of your day and coming in and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me and asking me. That means a lot.
It's been a blast.
You said you've been saying all day today you were kind of nervous. Like, I kept saying, ask Lee, there's no need to be nervous. It's literally just a chat, essentially.
Yeah,
So-
but still, it's am I bringing something to the table? That's basically the thing that you're nervous about. And
Yeah, I feel like you brought a couple good points, especially with like the DMCA thing we had. There's definitely a few things people put in like chat and stuff as well. Altogether, pretty good episode, I'd say. And again, thank you very much for coming on. Very much appreciate it.
again, thank you so much for asking.
And I'm going to start up as the raid command. Let me make sure I'm spelling that correctly. I don't want to spell it wrong. No, I spelled it right. Okay, so. Hey, Trini knows have to. So, if you are a member of Syvix's like sub squad, hit him with like a bunch of emotes. Hype emotes as I see Max and Trini putting in my chat right now. Feel free to spam those. If you want to unlock my emotes, there's channel points option to do so for 24 hours. If you're not already a sub, but if you are a sub, just spam either of them away. And if you're not a sub to either of us, me or Syvix, and don't want to use your channel points to unlock mine right here, then just use the Twitch Global generic ones. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and goodbye.